Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. We have an amazing guest here today, a woman that proves confidence is not something that you're born with. It is something that you become. So Simone Knego is an international bestseller of one book with another one to be released soon. So I want to give you a big welcome today, Simone, 6'2" manifesting generator. She began her life as a certified accountant, which I find absolutely fascinating. I was like, is this actually, you're just so vibrant. And as a manifesting generator, I could not imagine you ever been in that box. So I'm excited for us to dive in today in that transformation of you really stepping into your purpose work and leading the way for others with your real confidence method. So welcome to the studio, Simone.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So first things first, right? Let's go back to beyond all of the accolades and amazing achievements that you already have accomplished so far in your life. What was the moment for you that you were like, okay, the life that I'm living is not matching up to what I know that I'm capable of?
There's a couple of big moments, but one moment was I was sitting at a women's event and I had this facade up for so long, pretending that I was super strong and had it all together. You know, I have 6 kids, like I better have it all together. Everybody has these expectations of me. This video came on, which is Colby Calais' Try, and it's about peeling back the layers, really showing your authentic self. And I started crying. I hadn't cried probably in 10 years. And my friends did not know what to do with me. They're like, "Oh my God, she's always the strong one. What do we do? What do we do?" And in that moment, it was like such a big release for me to say, I've been pretending for a long time. These are the things I struggle with. And as soon as I did that, like it was like a new version of me was allowed to step out, right? And I was allowing myself to step out. What was so interesting is that I always looked at my friends and said, "Oh my gosh, they have the perfect life, like everything goes right for them." And as soon as I shared my struggles, they were all like, "Well, let me tell you what I struggle with." Like we'd been friends for years, no idea. We all thought like everybody else was doing great. And that was the moment where I said to myself, like, there's no pretending anymore, right? I need to be who I am and not worry about what anybody else thinks. And that was the beginning of that journey. It doesn't happen overnight, but that was the beginning of that journey.
The beginning, but this is like well into her life. And I don't know if
Oh,
you've seen this kind of trend in your work, but like it's like women are now reclaiming success on their terms. Like if you look at like our generations of women, we've been the first of our lineage to ever go into the workforce. And then also as you like 6 children and working as well. I don't know how the hell you did that. We need to go back there a little bit. 32 years married, and we're balancing it all. And like the role of the woman expanded so much. And like it's like we see this trend on social media, it's like, what do I bring to the table? Like we are the freaking table. We've been trained to carry so freaking much. So for you, right, when you decided, was this the point where you're like, right, I'm done with accounting and I'm moving into my own purpose work and setting my business? Or what was the big turning point, this event?
so I actually was not, I had already stopped working in accounting, but I tried many different things. Like I could not figure out what I wanted or who I was because I was pretending so much. So I went back to school to be a teacher. I worked in medical sales. I sold coffee for a while. Like there were so many different things. I flipped houses, so many different things I was doing to try to figure out. And what I realized later is that the reason none of these things worked is because I wasn't being myself, right? I was trying different things, but not because I really wanted them, but because other people suggested, "Oh, maybe you'd like this. Maybe you'd like this." And, you know, that wasn't really me. So that event was kind of the beginning of like, what is your purpose? What do you really want in your life? And that began my storytelling. It began my speaking. It began my writing. So it really was a huge transformation. I mean, for me to go from being an accountant to writing and speaking and hosting a podcast is really like a huge
Oh,
transformation.
180.
But I went into accounting because I actually wanted to be a doctor. Both of my parents were physicians. My mom actually went to medical school in 1961. So she was one of 5 women in her class out of 120. Yeah. So, but I wanted to be a doctor. But then in college, I failed organic chemistry and then I got a D in it the second time. And that kind of like was like, oh, what? Nope, they're not going to take you. So, and my dad said, well, you're good at math. You should do accounting. And I was like, no, I want to be an actress. He was like, yeah, no, you're going to go into accounting. And so that's what I did, obviously. Again, doing other things that other people expected instead of what I really wanted.
Yes. And this is, I'm sure, something that like you work with all kinds to break. It's like women stepping out of that people pleasing role and doing what everyone else wants. And it's like, well, actually, what am I here for? So coming back to your business then, let's talk about this and the amazing success you've had over the last 10 years in helping women gain their confidence. And like I was fascinated actually, like when I would have left corporate, I think people were like obviously I'd built up my identity in corporate, right? So you feel like successful and this is what you're known for, regardless if you're like wearing masks or whatever. This is people's perception of you. And nobody in the corporate world, well, when I was there, talked about emotion. So when I would
Mm,
come online and start talking about kind of going, God, I'm like my self-worth is through the floor. People are like, what? And it's because people aren't having real conversations. There's so much masking that goes on in the professional world. And like no one actually even really knows each other. So for you, what was what did the journey look like? Warts and
I,
all.
yeah, it warts and all. So it looks like, I mean, there's so many parts to it, but that idea of being able to be yourself, I mean, it, I want to say it stresses people out. Like when you all of a sudden show up as authentic, and I don't really love the word authentic, but you show up as real, then people are like, oh my gosh, what do we do with her? Like, this is not what we expected. And they ask questions. For example, when I climbed Kilimanjaro in 2015, the questions I got were, "Do you really think you're going to make it to the top?" "Oh no, I think I'm going to make it halfway. That's why I'm doing it." Like it's and people love to put what they're struggling with or what they don't feel like they're capable of on you. And so that was a big realization for me of saying, "Wait, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be helping these women figure out that they can do it too." So instead of saying, I can't make it to the top, how about come with me? Let's see how far we can go. Right? Like a totally
Yes.
different attitude toward it.
And in terms of like for you actually to go in here on the being a bit of a disruptor, right? Because you're a manifesting generator, which is disruptive, initiating energy, and you're also an Aries, same as myself. So we're like all in or all out type of people. Like we are fearless. I actually just shared something on Instagram about this yesterday. We go through life where it looks like there's like this truck trying to drive under the bridge and it looks like it's not going to make it. And then we just like slide on through.
Mm.
And because we push limits. We're like, what is actually possible for ourselves? But what do you feel like? Obviously, you've worked and you've developed an amazing, proven framework, the real confidence method out of all of your work and all the people that you've empowered. And like the stats that you were sharing, like 70% of people struggle with self worth. Or in corporate, like, it's like 69% of people in leadership positions fear that they're going to be found out, like, which is like a humongous statistics that just shows you the amount of masking and bullshit that can go on in these spaces. And it's all like, this peacocking ego. And like, this is why the soul starts to suffer, right? Because we're actually not living with our purpose and we're trying to fulfill roles. Of course, we're not going to feel confident if we're not actually doing what's true to ourselves. So how did you start breaking through into these spaces with your amazing initiating energy?
Yeah, I mean, conversation, right? I mean, we live in a time where everything is text, right? Or email. And it's that real conversations with people that really break through. Like when you actually show up in person to somewhere, people are like, oh, or if you pick up the phone, or if you write a handwritten note, they don't know what to do with that because they're not used to that anymore. But that's how you get in, right? Because people realize I went to a meeting the other day and I had the option of doing it on Zoom or I could go in person. And I chose to drive the 30 minutes to do it in person. And I guarantee the person I met with will not forget me because we had such a great conversation. He knows my face, he knows my facial expressions, like he knows so much more about me that he probably would not have asked me when if we were on Zoom. But that I think that connection that we still need that connection. And yeah, it is kind of disruptive when you actually call someone on the phone because they're like, my gosh, nobody ever calls me. They send me a text message because it takes too much time. But it really is about taking that extra time for that connection.
100%. I say this all the time. I think we live in a society now where we over communicate, but we're under connecting. It's
Mm.
just so easy to be like, boom, 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 send a text. Oh, it's done. Email, it's done. But no, there's no intention. There's no energy behind it. I'm kind of like, no, it doesn't fill me up at all. But I love that I love that actual, it's like a way of standing out. And I really think this is like a real trend pattern I see in women when they step into entrepreneurship in particular. It's their confidence that holds them back, the lack of
Mm,
self-belief and the fear of being seen. And like to do what you're doing now is like, I'm going to stand out. I'm going to write the handwritten note. I'm going to show up in person because we all have become so used to hiding behind the screen. So can you tell us a little bit about your real confidence method and how
yeah.
that works for women?
Yeah, so that actually came about from my transformation. So really going from struggling for a long time with self-doubt. And if I take a step back, when I was in high school, I had an abusive boyfriend, and that really put me on the path of like, this is how I see myself. I'm not good enough. Like he told me for so long that, you're not pretty enough, you're stupid, you're all these things. And when someone says that enough times, you start to believe it. When you say it to yourself enough times, you believe it, right? And that's why it's so important how we talk to ourselves. So, my transformation from that to climbing Kilimanjaro, I had to really get out of my comfort zone, right? I really needed to realize what I was capable of. And that moment really changed everything. And I have had people say, well, if you didn't make it to the top, how would that have felt? Well, I don't know because I made it to the top. But I think for me, it was about taking the action. And so from that came like, okay, how did I create this transformation? So REAL stands for respect yourself, embrace your failures, ask yourself what you want, and live without limits. And I started with respect yourself. Well, first of all, I like the word real, but I started with respect yourself because I remember as a child I was taught to respect my elders, my peers, but never once do I remember being taught that the most important person to respect is myself. I mean, I don't know if you experienced something similar, but I've heard that from a lot of people that
Absolutely.
yeah, nobody ever said, oh, you should respect yourself.
Irish culture is like the worst. I mean, particularly for women, we are raised as martyrs, huge margin program, like
Mm,
self-sacrifice is an absolute badge of honor. And we were growing up when well, in my household anyway, it was like children should be seen and not heard, you
yes.
know? So it was very much so when I say this is why I'm like, this topic I think is just so important. It needs to be talked about more because women, it's very easy to present online that we look like we've got our shit together. But
Hmm.
I mean, so as someone who works in energy, I can read straight away of like, is this person confident in embodying their gifts or is it just more masking? And this is why your work is so freaking needed. So absolutely, like, continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can completely I empathize with that as growing up as a child.
Yeah. So, and we hear a lot. People will say, "Oh, yeah, when I go into that meeting, I'm going to demand respect." Well, it's not about demanding respect. It's about demonstrating it to yourself. Because when people see how you treat yourself, guess what? That's how they're going to treat you. If you treat yourself like shit, you're going to be walked all over, right? So, if you talk to yourself like crap, which is so many women do, they look in the mirror, they pick themselves apart, they never find anything that they like about themselves. That's what other people see, right? So, it's so important that we talk to ourselves like we would our best friend or we would a family member that we love. Let's clarify that. But, there's so often that I used to do this to myself. I would stand in front of the mirror and be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you gained weight again." And "Oh my god, you're losing hair," and all these different things until one day my daughter who I have the podcast with, she came in, she was about 15.
Interrupting this episode for a quick initiation. If you are listening to this and you're feeling the pull for more clarity, more alignment, more you, then this is your invitation. I have created the best of you for people who are done trying to fix themselves and they're ready to embody who they're here to be. Over 6 weeks, we work with your energy blueprint, nervous system regulation, breathwork, ritual, and hypnosis to clear old patterns and anchor a new identity that actually not only attracts, but holds the life you want. You don't walk away motivated, you walk away clear, aligned, regulated, and magnetic as fuck. If your body just said yes, you will find the link in the show notes.
And she said, I was getting ready for an event and just really beating myself up. And she said, "First of all, you're beautiful. Second of all, you need to stop. You're giving me a complex. How do you expect me to love my body when you don't even like your own?" And that was such a wake up call for me because first of all, I didn't even realize I was doing it, right? It's just the automatic. And you hear this so often with women, the way they talk to themselves, they talk down to themselves. And that goes back to that statistic about they're afraid to be found out because they don't believe they're capable of doing it. And the way they talk to themselves is like that they're not. So, and your words become your reality. So that's why the respect piece is so important. Okay, that was a long respect piece, but
No, I love this. This is like, and I was meant to say this at the beginning. I was like, this episode is going to be like a masterclass,
no,
not just a motivational talk. Okay, so we're into E.
yeah, so embrace your failures. I mean, for me, for so long, when I failed at something, it was like game over, not trying again, can't do it. It's not possible. Failures are bumps in the road, right? Just because you failed at something doesn't make you a failure, right? It's a moment in time, and it's something that you learn from. So instead of saying, "Oh my gosh, I can never do that again," how about, what did I learn from that? Like, I'm going to do it differently next time. But we get so hung up on what other people think. And I mean, obviously what we think too, but we get so hung up worrying. And let me tell you, most of the time people are not thinking about you. We're so worried about being judged by everybody else. But why? I mean, they're probably thinking the same thing, right? Oh, don't judge me. But and most of the time they just aren't thinking about you. So like, take a step back and say, okay, if you have to try, you have to do things, because that's how you realize what you're capable of. You have to get uncomfortable, and every day you should get uncomfortable with something. If you hate making phone calls, make that phone call, right? If you don't, and again, this is different if you have some true kind of psychological, I'm not talking about it from a psychological perspective, but I'm talking about it from a regular everyday perspective. When there's something that you're afraid of doing, do it anyways. Do it scared, right? Because that's how you grow. That's how things change for you.
Yes, absolutely. I think I don't know whether this is a real Aries energy. We're just do it and see what happens. I don't think I don't believe in anything called failure. I remember like a 16-year-old, I bought this like t-shirt in Spain on a family holiday, and it was like fail forward. And it was something that always like imprinted on my brain at that point. I'm kind of going like, yeah, there's no, like, we're only learning. And this is actually a real classic. You're obviously a 6-2 profile. So for anyone that has a 6 or a 3 profile that's listening, like, you're in your role model era, but you have lived your life through trial and error with this sass and tenacity of going, I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And look at where it's got you. It's developed you amazing frameworks, an award-winning podcast, books, the whole shebang. So it's like, we don't develop the confidence until we actually start taking the action.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first thing. It's like, it's not like you build confidence and then you take action. You take action, and then that's how confidence builds. So I think, and we often look at other people and say, oh, they're so confident and I'm just not. Okay. But that's not true. That's not how it works. It's a skill like any other skill. So you don't go to the gym one time and all of a sudden you can lift, 600 pounds. It doesn't work that way. You also don't take one Spanish lesson and become fluent. Why would your mindset be any different, right? It's something that you have to work on every day. And even once you are confident, you still use those skills, right? You still constantly remind yourself of what you're capable of. And you see it with professional athletes, right? You see, like from the gymnastics, you would see Simone Biles talking herself up before she would go do something, because your mind has to match what you want, right? So do you want to wake up in the morning and say, okay, today's going to be the crappiest day ever? Like, I just want my life to be miserable. Do you want to wake up like that? No, no. So you have a choice when you wake up in the morning and say to yourself, like, I'm going to have a great day. These are the things I'm going to do. Yes, there are external factors that affect us, but that idea of you control how you want to move forward, which brings me into so I have this little mindset hack so when I am struggling with something, when I am thinking, oh my gosh, you're not ready for this, you're not capable of this, I call the voice inside my head the what if whisperer. And, what if you fail? What if you're not good enough? And I actually named her so I can separate her from me. Her name is Sally Fine, which stands out for freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So I can say, okay, put her to the side. But my little hack is Control Alt Delete, which is back in the day, it was how you would reset a frozen computer. Now you just push the power button. But minds freeze too, right? We get stuck in that comparison game. We spiral in self-doubt. So it's really the control piece is about awareness, right? What are the thoughts that are running your day? Are they real? Are they helpful? Probably not. It's a story that you've been telling yourself. And we need to tell ourselves a better story, which is alternative. Tell yourself a better story, right? Instead of saying, oh, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough. Yes, you can do this, and you are more than enough. And, oh, what if I fail? How about when I succeed, right? It's that manifesting piece. It's really telling yourself what you're capable of. And the last part is delete. Delete the habits and beliefs that don't serve you. Delete the comparison game. Delete the apology. Delete the belief that you're not enough, because none of that is true. So anytime I'm struggling with like, oh my gosh, here comes the voice, and I literally say to myself, Control Alt Delete it, like get it out of there, like it's not real. You go through the steps, it's not real, and move on. And you can do it anytime, anywhere. And so that's my little mindset hack.
Amazing. I love this because, like, as much as I'm always like, take aligned action, what's your human design authority, etc. So you find what's the next step for you. It doesn't mean that it's naturally easy. It takes time
Mm,
to build, well, one, it takes time to build confidence in trusting our own inner authority. And that also when it comes from action, but we have to like rewire our nervous system into safe. Before I go into the nervous system, Melissa, I want you to continue on with your A
yes, we'll
L
finish.
first.
Okay. Okay. So A stands for ask yourself what you want. And this, I think, is the hardest one for women, right? So many of us do so much for everybody else. Like you said before, we're the table, right? We do all the things. And so, we're going from point A to point B with our head down because we have to take care of everybody else. So a lot of times when I ask a woman, okay, what do you really want? I have no idea. I've never thought about it. Really? You've never thought about it. But that was me for a long time, right? I was doing everything for everybody else, 10 years ago. And not that I still don't do things. Like I have a very large family, so I do a lot of things, but I make sure that I take time for myself. Like self-care is so important. Really asking yourself, is this the life you want? Do you want to wake up every day and be miserable? Well, you can change that, right? You don't have to go in with a negative mindset. And it's not about toxic positivity. It's about taking care of yourself and believing in yourself. And then we'll go to L, which is live without limits, because we limit ourselves from the moment we wake up to the second we go to bed, right? The things that we say to ourselves. And this to me is all about the words that we use, right? And that's why I think that positive affirmations are so important, the way we talk to ourselves. When I was younger, there was a period of time where I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was out to dinner one night. I was actually at an event, like a dinner party at a friend's house. And I sat next to a woman who happened to be a CEO of a big company. And when she asked me what I did, I said, I'm just a stay at home mom. And like justifying my existence, right? Like, oh, I'm just a stay at home mom, instead of like, oh, I'm a stay at home mom. Like, I love this. And her response was, I can't imagine anything worse. And like, so I already was feeling bad about myself. And then she added that piece in. I'm thinking, okay, right. I am accomplishing nothing in the world. I am doing nothing good. Like, and that was how I spiraled in that moment. But drop the just, like, you're not just a stay at home mom. You're not just a volunteer. Like, these are all things that make up who you are, and they're important. And it doesn't matter what anybody else does. So she's a CEO. Great. Like, and she thinks having kids are terrible. Well, that's, doesn't work for her, but this is what works for me. And so we have to stop valuing ourselves based on anybody else. It's really, we have to find our value from within. And confidence is about taking action. It's about trusting yourself. You said that before too. You have to trust yourself. You have to believe that when you walk into a room, you are as good as anybody in that room. And you shouldn't have to say, oh my gosh, what if they find me out? You deserve to be there. That's why you're there.
Yes, I love this. And there's just so much conditioning, I think. Obviously, like corporate workforce is obviously built, designed by the male patriarchy. And this is like, I'm all like, love the men. I feel men are also suffering in our traditional workforce systems.
Yes.
I don't think it supports the family system at all in today's modern day world. But it's the conditioning as a result of that, where it's like, because there's always only one job and one promotion. So regardless if everyone thinks, oh, we're a team and we're all together, whatever, there's always so much competition that goes on for this one position. And hence why there's no one is actually like really, really speaking their truth. And there's all these like self-imposed limitations on what is also said as possible for a woman. It's like, we're judged if we do, we judge if we don't, then we're trying to do it all then. It's like, no, well, I can work and be an amazing mom. I can work a full-time job and come home and cook a dinner from scratch and be there for my kids' soccer practice. And it's like the list of expectations just gets bigger and bigger. And this is societal expectations. So it's like actually coming back to like, what is your truth? What do you desire? And asking ourselves this question. I couldn't get over this actually as well. I'm like I see this so often. I remember years back when I was kind of stepping into this work, and I was still in corporate and I was doing all this as a side hustle. And I was doing a manifestation workshop, and I'd asked um a family member, I was like, oh, do you want to come along? And like, so older woman. And she was like, no, absolutely not. And I was kind of a bit like kind of going, like, as you say, as you mentioned earlier, like, forget about what people care or what they think about you, whatever. They don't really care. Ultimately, people are really looking at through their own lens. And I was like initially kind of going to take this as a bit of like rejection. I'm kind of like, well, why would you not want to come? I was like, I'm offering you a free space at my workshop. And she, in the end, the typical Aries manifestor triggering questions was like, I have spent my entire life, following my husband's dreams
Mm,
and raising a family. And I wouldn't know what to put down on a piece of paper of what I want to manifest in my life. And I was just like, oh, like, and it really hit me, right? And this is obviously like all of this obviously drives you further along your work because you think kind of going, right, well, not only am I not alone, this is actually a societal problem where women, for whatever reason, as part of our encoding, we've just been trained to think of everyone else's needs before our own. So, with that for you, right? Like, obviously, and it's a big part of this journey of transformation, huge parts of your identity had to die in order for this version of Simone to be born. So, do you have any insights to share on that in terms of
mm.
navigating that journey? What did you have to let go? Obviously, self sabotage and all of these patterns that we develop, but what was the biggest identity debt you feel you went through?
So I want to say one of the biggest things was letting go of relationships that no longer served me for so long. And I'm not talking, I mean, my husband is amazing. So it's not that, but friendships that they were toxic relationships. Everything was negative and nothing was ever good enough. It's interesting because there were quite a few people that we are and as couples that we're no longer friends with because every conversation was something like, "I don't wanna do this anymore. I feel unhappy when I walk in the room," which is fascinating, right? Because we put up with it for years until I finally said, "Why are we doing this?" Right? This is not making us happy, right? And then the second part is the toxic relationship you have with yourself because that I had a toxic relationship with myself. I had to let go of all of those negative things that I was doing, telling myself that, oh my gosh, you gained weight again, that just trying to be happy in the moment instead of saying, well, something will change tomorrow and it will get better. No, what do I have today? Like that idea of gratitude of how many amazing things are happening in my life every day. I was talking to a woman yesterday and she said, do you have any advice? Give me some advice for I'm having my second baby in like a month or something. And I said, it'll be chaos and you need to enjoy every moment. So those middle of the night wake ups, they'll eventually stop. So in the moment, enjoy them. Like you get this private time with this baby instead of thinking, oh my gosh, he woke me up again. And it took me a long time to get there, right? Like when the kids were little, I was like, no, you can't sleep in the bed. And then I'm like, why not? They're all gonna grow up and be good humans, and it's exactly what has happened. But I think so often we put these pressures on ourselves, and that I think that was another one of the big things that I got rid of is the idea of you have to balance everything because it's impossible, right? That we talk about it all the time. I want a balanced life. No, you have to prioritize because there are certain things you have to get done in the moment and certain things that can wait. And there's days that are going to be more spent on you and your family. And there are days that are going to be more spent on your work. And that's okay. But, the society tells us, oh, you have to be balanced. Well, you're setting yourself up for failure. That's what I truly believe. So that's another thing that I got rid of that idea of like, oh, no, you don't have to have the perfect meal at dinner. Like the house doesn't have to be spotless. Live your life. If your friends come over and your house is messy, it's because like you're doing fun things with your kids instead of focusing on making sure everything's spotless to put up this show for when they come over, So those are a few things.
Yes, I love this. And I think I know as an Aries, the relationship piece for us is particularly huge, right? Because we've been very loyal. And I know
Mhm.
collectively we've gone through this big shift. I mean, well, collectively, obviously globally. Was it 2023 to January this year where the Aries Libra node return? So like there's been huge amounts of like breakups, relationships falling apart. And for me, I really learned that lesson of kind of going like, whoa, I was like, I've been loyal to my detriment. Like, so I'd shared this in a previous podcast where I was like, I'd sat in ceremony, my guy's like, you're leading like a priestess in business, but you love like a martyr. And this is where I dove way deeper into this patterning. I'm kind of going, wow, I'm self-abandoning myself in this relationship. Like I'm burning myself to keep this person warm. And I'm like, no. But this was more like obviously childhood, ancestral patterning, whatever. we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Our nervous system is the average of the 5 people we spend most time with. And, we say that we strive for work-life balance or whatever that looks like for us, but yet we spend so much time as women people pleasing in relationships that are not lighting us up. So can you tell me, because I know for myself, and I've seen this actually, I used to be, I remember I antagonized like walking away from a friendship, honest to God, for about like 2 years. And there's an element of going, oh, I've been friends with this person forever. I'm like, length of time does not equal the quality of a friendship. Like, let's just be real here on
Mm.
this. And I think this is something that we've been trained to be the good girl. And, if we want to step into leadership, we need to get real with ourselves, first of all. But the energy and the capacity I had for life and business once I let this go I was like, it was the biggest. And I was like, okay, never again. I did obviously repeat this pattern in smaller forms until I fully alchemized it. But in your experience, what big shifts did you see in your life when you stopped abandoning yourself and you let go of the friendships that didn't serve you?
Yeah, I actually liked doing things again. Like for so long, it'd be like we would go out, and I was like, I don't really want to go out. Well, the reason I didn't want to go out because I knew it was going to end in a bad way every single time. Like when you're stressed the whole time that you're going to say the wrong thing, and then the person's going to berate you. Like it's not fun. There's nothing fun about it, and so that was a huge change where I'm like, oh yeah, let's go out with new people. Like why not? Instead of getting stuck in that, oh, it was constant negativity. And we met, like, we have an amazing friend group. We have an amazing network you could call them and they would support you for anything that you need. Whereas people that we had to let go of, I would help so much, like constantly, like watching their kids or, standing up for them. Like when people were like, oh, why do you hang out with them? Like, I'm like, oh no, they're just misunderstood. And when one thing happened with me and I needed their support, no, they threw me under the bus. And so I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. I am really focused on being around people that feel the same about me, right? That they would be willing to help me and I would be willing to help them. That it's a relationship that goes back and forth. But that idea of, it was for so long, my husband and I are like, let's just stay home. I don't want to deal with this. And like, that's ridiculous that we're living our lives because we're worried that we're going to bump into these people or we're worried that we're going to have to, if God forbid we went out with another couple and they saw us and they weren't invited, it would be the end of the world. Like this is when I look back at it now, I'm like, this is so ridiculous that we lived our lives like that. Like what a waste of time that you can't get back.
Amazing. And what an incredible, I really want to celebrate you and your husband here, right? For, well, the courage to release and follow a different path, but also for the blueprint that you are giving your children. All 6 of them, by the way. And I really actually am like, I know you're a manifesting generator, but how have you managed to build an amazing business, make such change in the world, raise 6 amazing kids, have a 32-year amazing marriage? And also, by the way, Simone has a podcast with her daughter Olivia as well. So like tell us a little bit about this. I think it's just so beautiful. And like as you were saying, like she's like, well, mom, like you're a leader for your children, not just like a mother and a caretaker. So yeah, tell us a bit about that and the shift when you actually really stepped into your power and how you released the mother guilt. I know it's like 3 questions in one.
Yeah, it's all good. So for a long time, I thought I had to do everything a certain way. And then I realized that it's not going to work with this many kids. So we adopted our youngest 3 kids. So our 18-year-old and our 21-year-old are from Ethiopia and our 19-year-old is from South Korea. And people thought we were crazy. They're like, you can have more biological kids. Why would you adopt? I'm like, okay, that's a whole another podcast conversation. But there are so many amazing kids in the world waiting for a family to love them. We wanted to be that family. So, we have that added element too. But for me, it was like, you do it. Like you just go and do it. And so there was a lot of volunteer work I did when the kids were younger that involved a lot of travel and same kind of thing. Oh, you're leaving your kids again. And I'm like, no, I'm showing them what they're capable of as well. Right. I mean, modeling matters way more than managing. I can tell them something until I'm blue in the face. But if I show them something and they see that it's consistent, that's what they're going to learn. Same thing. Like if I'm talking, down to myself all the time, that's what they're going to learn. And that's what they're going to say to themselves. Okay, so that's first part. But I did things, right? I committed to something. And when I committed to something, I followed through. At first, I would commit to too many things. And then I realized I need to commit to the things that I really want. And so that's what I started doing. And again, that's what they see. And I look at them now and think, Like when they were younger, we were like, yeah, it's a shit show. Like there's every day there's like complete chaos. You get to school and one left their shoes at home but they're grown up now, right? Almost completely grown up and they've become really good humans. They care about the world. They care about their friends. They really put themselves out there in a way. And it's because of modeling. It's not because I told them, oh, you have to be a really good human. No, like lead by example. We talk about the do as I say, not as I do. Well, okay, that's BS right there. They're going to do as you do. So you have to think about that all the time. And in terms of being able to accomplish the things I've accomplished, like I have a super supportive family too, right? Like they see the things that I have going on and they're like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like let's help. Let's tell other people about it. So for example, my daughter is for my book launch is February 17th and I'm having a big event in Sarasota. And so we have the podcast together. And so she's actually going to fly in and interview me at the event. So she's in law school, but like she's going to take the time and do it because she knows that it's really important. And I think that's one of the coolest things that I have with all of the work that I do is the podcast with my daughter, because first of all, everybody's like, okay, the fact that your 22-year-old daughter wants to talk to you on a podcast is crazy.
I know.
And
It's amazing.
but it's been such a great learning experience for both of us. Now, out of the 6 kids, she's the only one that will do it. We brought her older sister on one time and she was like, oh my God, that was so stressful. Why do you guys do that? Like, this is, it was really funny. I was like, really? It's that stressful? She's like, oh yeah, that's so stressful. So, but it has been really amazing. So we've been doing it for over 2 years and we have learned so much about ourselves, about each other. And so often the episodes are what we're dealing with in the moment, like the things that are whatever she's stressed with at school, or then we have a guest on and they're giving advice about certain things. And I love it because at the end of an episode, she'll say, I really needed that today. Like I really took something big away from that today that's really going to help me. Or she's giving me life advice. Like we did an episode about anxiety and I think we called it Your Anxiety is Giving Me Anxiety because I was like, I'm really stressed about this. She's like, well, you have anxiety, mom. Like you can say you're stressed, you have anxiety. and she's like, and your anxiety gives me anxiety. So let's talk about this. Let's deal with this. And I was like, okay, you're pretty wise
This
over
is
there.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a really great experience for both of us. It's funny. At first, when we started, we would always tell stories about my husband doing something stupid or something like that. And he was listening all the time. He's like, okay, can you stop picking on me? So now we can't like really bring him up in the episodes.
No, but what a fabulous way. I mean, for her, I mean, she's only 22 to be getting such a great foundation, not only from your modeling, but also like with the women that she gets to speak with on the podcast and to also like be taking up space at such a young age. Because I don't know about you, but it took me so long to actually step up, not behind. I mean, people would say they're going, yeah, but you were like so not popular. That doesn't make sense in the corporate world, but you were so successful in the corporate world at a very young age. I was like, I want to be on the 30 under 30 women's list. I'm going to be the first CEO of tech, etc., etc., etc. But I was hiding behind the titles. And when I stripped the titles away, I was like, when I left corporate, I'm like, who the fuck am I? What am I actually even any good at? So for her to be getting that exposure at such a young age and to be speaking with older women as well is so incredible because, and I think a real key point there of what you've said, that we need to, and a lot of women can resist this as in what of older generations is that the older generations know best. And don't think that we can learn from our children and the youth of today when it's kind of going, they're living in a completely different world than what we grew up in. And like it works both ways in terms of the learning and evolution. Like in the world that existed in our parents' time, I mean, that doesn't exist anymore. So it's like we need to evolve past this. So I'm like, it's just incredible what you guys are doing. So I'm really celebrating that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been like I said, it's been really great. And also, watching one of the biggest things that I find like such a good thing about it is that she was doing something in class. Like they get called and you have to stand up and you have to speak. And someone said to her, how do you have such confidence when they call on you? Like you don't hesitate. She goes, oh, I have a podcast with my mom. I've learned to think on my feet. So I was like, there you go. So
Incredible. Amazing. So tell us about your new book that you guys are going to be up to in your next podcast on, which is out in February 2026, only a matter of weeks. This is your second book. Your first book was a bestseller. Tell us about this.
yeah, so the second book comes out February 17th. It's available for pre-order now. It's called Real Confidence: A Simple Guide to Go from Unsure to Unshakable. It uses my real method. I mean, I talk about things that I really haven't talked about before. My abusive boyfriend story. My husband hasn't even read the full book yet for him to see. He's probably going to be like, "Oh my gosh, how did I?" Yeah, and he knew, but he didn't know all the details. But, it's Kilimanjaro, it's other people's stories too. And it's really all about helping you build confidence from the inside out. Again, confidence isn't something other people have and that you don't. It's something you have to work on. And so this book will help you get there. And, it's a constant practice. And I just got I didn't get the printed copy yet, but the layout, and it's so pretty. Like the guy did such a great job because I have exercises at the end of each chapter and exercises for each section. And just, I was like, oh, it's pretty. Like, I really like it. So I'm super excited for it to come out. But if you want to check it out, it's at realconfidencebook.com. And I have a bunch of different pre-order bonuses if you pre-order it now.
Amazing. And in terms of like other ways like people can work with you, I know you've got your books, you've got your podcast, but you also have like coaching for someone who's listening today that's like, oh my God, I need this woman in my life. Have like, which I've seen it. Well, we go through identity deaths all the freaking time. But for a woman that's resonated that has been changing career or, the identity that you go through, like when your kids now are like flying the nest.
Yes.
And it's like, you've so much more time now. And as I know we were talking before, like this is like such an amazing chapter in your marriage. Like it's not a case of like, I was actually just at a book launch last night for, as in like life after menopause. And it's like, traditionally in society, women are kind of cast aside at that age. It's kind of like, oh, whatever, like we're no good anymore. And it's kind of like, I'm surrounded. Well, I know, and you also in the world that we live in. It's like like it's like your best chapters are from this period on because you're stepping into your crone, your real wisdom, your queen era. So tell us about ways that people can work with you.
Yeah. So I do one-on-one coaching. I'm actually starting a new group coaching in January, and I'm a keynote speaker. So if you have an event for me to come to, also if you have a book club, if you want me to come and do a virtual book club with you, if you guys order the book, I'm happy to come do that as well. So lots of ways I can work with you.
Love this idea. Well, I'm going to include all of your links in the show notes. And for her podcast with her daughter, you have to tune in. There's some really amazing episodes there. But if there's one piece of advice, I know you've given so much gold, mindset hacks, your real method, but one piece of advice that you would give to somebody listening today to be like, stop playing small, someone who's really ready to like step into their power and go after their life, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say you don't need to change who you are. You need to change the way you see yourself. We focus so much on, oh, we got to change this and we got to change this. No, you're amazing as you are, but it's you. You have to look in the mirror and say, okay, I am, right? Instead of saying, oh, let me change this. And I'm not talking about like plastic surgery, like whatever, but I'm talking about like the belief in yourself, like really seeing your value.
Yes, I love this. And I was only having this conversation to wrap this up with a friend of mine yesterday because we're all as women, like we're always if we get into self-development and then we realize how much that we were like wasting our potential and we see how good it gets, it's like it becomes this like can become a bit of an obsession. It's like, what else is possible for me?
Yes.
And so my friend has gone through like some big shifts recently. And because I'd said to her, I was like, you're in the wrong environments and you're in the wrong rooms. And I've learned this the hard way, the same as you, by like staying in relationships that aren't aligned for you. Because, your environment, like a plant, can only grow to the size of the pot that it's in. But beyond this, if we look at from an energetic space and we go into like the quantum, right? Everyone that we meet is a mirror. So we're either alchemizing the lesson or we're not, right? And when we're not in the right environments, nobody is mirroring your potential to you. So
Right.
beyond we say like it's about taking the action, it is like getting into the rooms or like changing the friendships up. And then the people that you meet will start bringing out these other parts of yourself. It's the same way as obviously working with you as a coach, your power and your energy and your accolades and your field is what will ignite what's potential in other people. So this is just to drill that point back to, well, 2 points that you've mentioned on the relationships piece, but change the way you see yourself. We also need to change the environments and the people that we're hanging around so we can actually affect more of our greatness.
Yeah. I mean, you matter, right? And so don't let anybody tell you that you don't.
There's only one. There's only one of us.
Yeah.
So I want to celebrate you for being a change maker, for leading the way, for breaking the mold, well, for countless women, but also for your children and your daughters moving forward. And thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story, your resilience, and yeah, just your beautiful methodology. And it's like, live for anyone else that's listening here, like take Simone's confidence in the fact that like she tried, she failed forward and she developed she met her own purpose and developed these amazing methodologies to help other women. So celebrating you, thank you for joining the show and I wish you best of luck with your launch.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me here today.